Atiku Abubakar's People Democratic Party presidential candidate has cautioned his supporters against making remarks that could harm the ongoing internal reconciliation process in the party. Atiku stated this through a press statement signed by his media advisor Paul Ibe in Abuja on Thursday. There are increasing fears in the PDP that the crisis between Atiku and Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State may affect the party's chances in the 2023 presidential elections. Earlier in the week, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, presidential candidate of the APC, met with Wike in London. We have Paul Ibe here to discuss these issues and many more as it affects the People's Democratic Party. It's a pleasure to have you join us again this morning in the studio.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Starting with the events of yesterday and all, we have seen several efforts at reconciliation, if you like, even though every time the People's Democratic Party would tell us it's a family affair and they are taking care of it. But yesterday in London, we saw all kinds of optics. We heard of the visit of the candidate of the ruling party, and then we saw pictures of the Labour Party candidate standing side by side with the former president, and of course, that of Atiku with some other governors of the party. What exactly is happening? It appears 1 minute we're on track, and then the next minute we start getting images that suggest otherwise. Can you let us in on what seemed to be happening around London?
In every relationship, even in families between a husband and wives, there are always issues. What is important is how you manage those issues. And so the primary elections of the PDP, specifically the nomination processes, threw up some issues. There were persons that were disaffected, for some reason or the other. The PDP has inbuilt mechanism for addressing all of its challenges. I mean, it's robust, and it has been developed over the years since 1998 when the party came into being. But the reality is that there are persons who are escalating the situation, the crisis, so to say, in the party. And I make reference to persons who have sowed, who are trying to reap where they didn't sow. It doesn't make any sense. You can't sow yam and expect to reap agbado, to reap cassava. No, you have to harvest what you have sowed. And what is the reality? The 7 years of the APC administration has been complete failure. 19.64% inflation. Businesses are closing up. I had a conversation yesterday with a very close friend of mine. We grew up, as young people, and he started off setting up a bakery. It was with tears he told me yesterday that business has folded up, and it's back to where he didn't want to be. And this is the story of everybody. And that is why the APC, knowing that it had nothing to offer in 2023, is quick to jump to escalate the crisis in the party. Yes, there is a problem, and the party has started a process, but you see this party that is a ruling party has nothing to offer, going around trying to shop, and then create a situation.
If I would take you on that,
yes.
You cannot bring in ant-infested firewoods to the house and expect the reptiles not to follow. Clearly, you have admitted there is a crisis. Is it out of place that they are trying to cash in on it, just as the PDP may be wanting to cash in on places where they expect that the APC also has a crisis?
The APC has said it has done fantastically well, so well that it hopes to run on what it has been able to achieve in the last 7 years. So if it has done so well, the question is, why is it shopping? You must be able to run on what it has been able to achieve, the scorecard of the party, and it is nothing to write home about. So what they are doing is an extension of what they have done in the last 7 years, creating divisions all over the place in our socio-political relationships. The fabric is broken, the economy is broken, and this is an extension of what they have done, in the last 7 years.
I think what Sunday is trying to say
yes.
is that the division was already there, And if they are trying to exploit it, they're actually trying to exploit something that was already there and has already been created. There's this proverb that says, it's when the wall cracks, that is when the lizard can get in. So there was already a crack there, and they're just trying to exploit that, that division that was already there, that they didn't create it, but they're exploiting it, and you shouldn't, should you fault them for that as a political party?
The point I'm trying to stress is that in every contest, there are bound to be winners and losers. Do you understand? Even in the APC that we're speaking about, I mean, there were people who are up to now still disenchanted, with the outcome of that process. But the PDP as a political party has not, gotten into the APC with a view, to escalating, the situation. It is focused, on trying to rally Nigerians, around the party, trying to present to, to them the alternative, which is, a viable path, towards, fixing, the mess, of the last 7 years. That's the point I'm trying to stress.
Okay. Keen supporters of the parties, and I'm sure other stakeholders would have been wondering, what exactly are these demands that appears to be a difficult point to agree on that has continued to make this crisis fester? It's been weeks since the decision to pick Okowa as the vice presidential candidate was made. And since then, this crisis has reared its head. 1 week we hear that the
Board of Trustees.
Yes, the Board of Trustees are intervening. Thereafter, we heard that a select number of persons from the presidential candidates are intervening. At other times, we hear that he has also held meetings with them. Why is it impossible to nip this in the bud and focus on the strategies that it will use to win the election?
You cannot. People are aggrieved. There are persons that are aggrieved. It is legitimate, and the party has to listen to them. You cannot determine. A process is, has commenced. I understand the anxiety, of Nigerians, and it's understandable too on the part of Nigerians, because Nigerians are, they are focused on a government after the APC. That is a clear decision. Except you are a member of the APC, that's the reality. And so Nigerians want to ensure that the PDP, as a political party, is so organized and standing united to be able to oust the APC. So Nigerians are anxious. So that is the reason why there is. But the party, the PDP has a process that is in place. And you recall that after at the end of the primary process, His Excellency Atiku commenced, mediation. He visited, his co-aspirants, and including, His Excellency Governor Wike and, Saraki and all of them. He visited them, and Wike, reciprocated, with a visit. And then His Excellency Atiku also met with Wike, in the residence of a BOT member, former Minister, Professor Jerry Ghana. And that was the first meeting, and they set up a committee. And but you also recall that the committee could not, get off the desk because of the issue of where the meeting, should hold. Atiku traveled on Monday after the NBA conference, to France for business meetings. That's where he is. Let's not forget that politics is not still a business person running businesses and the rest of it. He went there for meetings. And there was an opportunity to meet with, Governor Wike, and his team. And, he took that opportunity and met with them. What I believe is that, like I said earlier, is that there are persons who are ensuring that this crisis, continues to be escalated. Because they see it as their only path, towards holding on to power. But, members of the party, of the PDP, now know better. And with the counsel of, His Excellency, and make no mistake, the rhetorics have been both sides. Do you understand? But it is easier. His Excellency can call his own end of the, his supporters and those who, who support him and who mean well, not only for him, but for the country. He can call them, to say no, cool down. Let's everybody be calming down. But the rhetoric has been on both sides.
That's right. Would it be right to say that some of these voices that seem to have escalated this thing, understanding the gravity of what they are doing, may have been doing the bidding of the opposition party, even though they are members of the PDP?
You see, I cannot, I'm not clairvoyant to know why a member of a party, would do what, they're doing. But anybody who truly loves Nigeria at this point in time, you see, this election is the most consequential election of our democratic journey.
Yeah, so the point I am making is,
yes,
if you understand that to continue to stoke the embers of war would mean disaster for your party, and you continue to do that while still remaining a member of the party, isn't that sufficient enough to suspect your allegiance to that party?
Well, what is being done now is to calm, everybody. Is to calm. You cannot tell a woman how to respond, or how to, So people are manifesting different things. Yes, some are going overboard. If you love a political party, you will do all that you can, because political parties are organized, for the purposes of winning an election and forming a government. If you don't win an election, you can't form a government. You can't share anything. And so it is important that, every well-meaning member of the party, pulls the brake and heeds the counsel of, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, and so that the party can, united. It's only a united front, that can, be able to, oust, the APC, in February, of next year.
Okay. There's from some quarters, supporters of the party actually have this feeling that this, the attention being placed on a particular individual, in Governor Wike now in this situation, might breed some disaffection with other members of the party who might feel slightly neglected by the whole structure, because we've actually heard some members saying, why don't we just leave this guy be? He doesn't even have the influence that he thinks he has, and we can actually do this without him. Don't you think that this might create disaffection within the party, while other people feel that they have been neglected and more attention is being paid to a particular individual?
I don't think that is what this is all about. You see, as a strategy, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, it's politics. He understands politics and is politically savvy. You do not, tell anybody to go to hell, in politics. The lowest and the biggest of the, of stakeholders and the party sees them as, as very important people. And everybody don't forget that it is when you add 1 to 99 that it becomes 100. So without 1, 99 will still be 99. It will not be a 3-figure 100. And so all effort, is in place now. It's, trying to ensure that nobody feels alienated, nobody feels disenchanted, nobody feels that they are being, left out. Everybody is being, carried along, and that is the only way that the party, can be able to, to oust the APC, like I said.
Mr. Ibe, some keen watchers of what is happening and followers of Nigerian political culture gets the feeling that we are likely to see a repeat of 2015, where we had some governors from the ruling party move to join the opposition to then form what became a very strong force that ousted the then sitting government. Can you tell us here that with the way things are going, we are not likely to see those set of governors, including Governor Wike, who seem to be standing on the other side, move out of this family arrangement and take sides with any of the other candidates, given the kind of images we see coming
the situation in 2015 is totally different from what we have now. Even His Excellency Governor Wike has not given any indication. We are the ones, the media and the other people who are shopping, trying to, harvest agbado where they have only sold, cocoyam, and they're the ones who are giving us, all of this, narrative. I think that the governors of the PDP, are, aggrieved. Some of them may, but they are still standing, with His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. They are desirous of winning the election under the platform of the PDP and providing an alternative, government that will fix, the mess of the last 7 years by next year to be 8 years. And there is no indication that this situation that we have will get any better. So I don't understand how anybody who truly, loves this country and its people, who wants it, who wants the best for Nigerians, will be siding with a party that has absolutely nothing, to offer.
Well, we have heard stories, and I think Sunday alluded to it earlier. We've actually had stories that there are some particular set of demands that have been made by Governor Wike to be able to bring him back fully into the fold. And as someone who has an inside track, are those demands being made by Governor Wike, are they so impossible to achieve, and what implications might they have for the party if they actually concede to those demands?
Well, from what we know, about the back and forth, in this situation, we are aware that demands have been made, for the removal of the national chairman, Dr. Ayu. Now, how did we get to Dr. Ayu? Before Dr. Ayu was secondus as national chairman, and he was removed. And then the slot was zoned to the north. Ayu emerged, coming from the north, as chairman of the party. And then a primary has been conducted. A candidate has emerged. And other candidates who have emerged as governors, as members of the Senate and House of Representatives, and all of that. The question is, does it make sense to remove the national chairman at this point in time in the middle of an election? About a month to the commencement of campaign. Yes, it is legitimate to make demands, but even when you reflect on it, some of those demands are they don't. The party and Nigerians ultimately would not benefit from such, situation.
Just a quick follow-up on that. There were suggestions that as at when the party was considering the idea of throwing the tickets open as against zoning it to one particular part in consideration of what the candidate they think would have the biggest chance of clinching the ticket or the race, that the chairman of the party, having emerged from the north, had sort of made some concessions to relinquish that position if a candidate appears, to emerge from the same zone as himself. Was there any kind of commitment from Ayu in this regard, or is it just in the realms of speculation?
We've had this Ayu situation. We've had it before. It's not the first time. We've had a situation where you had, the candidate, the presidential candidate, and the national chairman from the same zone.
Okay.
So there's a precedent to it.
Okay.
The understanding is that once the elections are over and the PDP, wins the election, automatically Ayu, stands down as national chairman. That was the understanding that was, reached.
Just to move you slightly away from the current crisis, only a couple of days ago, the NBA conference held in Lagos, and the presidential candidate was there. He made some statement, and that appeared to have caused some ruffles in the society, where it was alleged he was alleged to have recommended federal universities being handed over to state. I know there were clarities, but this would be an opportunity for you to give us the clear perspective of what he meant with that statement.
I think what happened was that what he said was, as journalists, we interpret. But a number of times we also over-interpret. It was an over-interpretation of what he said.
When you make a statement of capable of multiple interpretations.
That to say exactly what it meant. And of course, at this point in time, His Excellency is interfacing, with professionals, with, people. He's, trying to ensure that his policy, which he had already yet to be unveiled, but it's in the process. It's a work in progress, and in doing that, he's having having exchanges with people. And he had an exchange with this professor, and he had a conversation. The point he was trying to do, because at that conference he was talking about devolution of powers, and that was where this issue came about, and he was trying to stress that at the beginning, the federal government didn't have a JAG, they didn't have anything. The federal government merely appropriated responsibilities of the states, took their resources, and they have now found themselves that they are unable to do some of those things. So why doesn't government go into doing what it is set up for, to be, don't get yourself involved in micro issues that the local governments and the state governments are best equipped to. And so that was the point that he was trying to make, and also comparing it with this situation in the United States. He never at any point said that he was going to hand over federal universities to school. He did say that education will continue to be on the concurrent list. But the issue is that power will be devolved to states and local governments, and resources also given to them, so that the states will now hold their governments at that level responsible and accountable, as everybody should now stop coming to Abuja, and that is it.
Interesting insight there. We have been talking to the spokesperson of the PDP presidential candidate, Mr. Paul Ibe. Thank you for the insights that you bring to this program this morning.
My pleasure.
And
Thank
we
you very much.
wish you a beautiful weekend ahead.
Thank you so much.